All right.
Oh shit!
Oh, did I beat up? No, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, we're back.
You ain't
Okay,
ready. You wasn't ready.
what's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm chilling, man.
Trying to get some of that, that before show banter going.
Yeah.
It was a little bit easier because we used to be in a studio. Now we just sit down at this desk.
Yeah, I feel good though. I feel good. I feel like super handsome, super charming, like usual. But I also feel a little taller.
What did you eat for dinner last Thursday?
Damn. If I had to guess, I'd say enchiladas. I feel like it was.
You said if I had to guess, so
Well, I had enchiladas 2 times last week.
okay.
I
I
had
was gonna
green
say,
ones.
is that just like a few times every week for you?
Nah, I just had I got green ones one day. They slapped, and then I had red ones the other day. I had less ingredients to work with, and they were like a letdown.
That's unfortunate. How'd you manage to do that? Oh, so you didn't? It wasn't like leftovers.
No, it was like I had a can of red and
Okay.
just enchilada remnant ingredients.
I got you, dog. I'm smelling you.
All right, let's get it. Welcome to Tea Time, a show that spotlights the growing and changing world of vintage, and not only the clothes themselves, but the stories and people behind them. Covering everything from reselling to sustainability, this is the ThriftCon podcast.
All right, we are back after a giant hiatus,
Too long.
like a crazy hiatus. I went and listened to the last Quick Dig last night just for like a little bit of reference.
That was in like February.
December 27th, 2021. 2020? 2020. I don't even know. December 27th was the last Quick Dig.
Merry Christmas.
Dude, crazy. 2 days after Christmas, and we were literally recapping all of 2020. So it was kind of funny. I listened to it just for a little second, and it was just us recapping the shitty 2020 that we had.
The nothingness that we did.
We got some stuff off. It was
Hey,
a good
guys,
time, but we
we
got
did.
a lot of chilling, though, dude.
You know, I
Lot of
can't
chilling.
lie. I can't lie. I do reminisce.
It was kind of nice.
It was fucking mellow, man.
I don't want to be stuck in my house, but I don't want to have to do a bunch of shit either, all right?
Yeah, be doing too much, man. I need naps and shit all the
Come
time.
on. All right, so today, I guess we're kind of going to do the same thing right now since we haven't been here, haven't been audibly here in this space for a second. We figured we'd do a nice little recap and just catch you guys up.
Yeah,
Talk
so
about this year.
yeah, we did a whole entire year and didn't say a word about it on this. We were talking a lot of other ways though.
Yeah. First things
Annoying
first,
people.
I guess, where are we at?
Where are we at today? Just now, 15 minutes ago, an hour ago, we announced.
Where are we at physically in this space?
Oh, I thought you were talking like a mindset, more like big picture.
Nah, we'll get to that.
We're in the ThriftCon office. We upgraded the office in the calendar year 2021.
This shit's crazy. We set up a phone on a couple different stools hanging on top of each other, makeshift tripod, so we
It's
can't
still authentic.
we can't show it around. But yeah, we got a fancy new office. We bought podcast equipment. Look at that.
What?
Oh my God. So we got a whole bunch of new fancy equipment, and we can record stuff whenever we want. We can just sit down and start talking about bullshit because we love to talk about bullshit.
You love to hear myself talk.
All right. So that was the first thing I wanted to get to is where are we at? Why do we maybe sound a little bit different? If you're starting to see video of this, why does it look like we're in a different space? Because we're at the new office.
That's why we used to be in the chicken restaurant closet thing.
That was our old office.
That was cool for a while, but
We upgraded
we upgraded for sure.
and are paying for it.
We've been on a big break though. We've been traveling a lot. I think that has to do a lot with why we didn't. Well, yeah. So we didn't have a lot of money in 2020. That was a problem. So like paying for that studio was kind of doofy. We were traveling, trying to like make the money to then go do the stuff that we wanted to do. So that was a roadblock, if you will. And what else? Why else haven't we been doing this?
Just because we've been busy.
Are we uninspired?
Because
you think?
I think because we were throwing a bunch of shows. We did shows back to back to back once we were kind of able to start doing stuff again. So essentially we were doing that. And then the first few months we were just traveling, trying to make those shows happen.
Yeah.
We were on the road a lot during the spring and shit.
That like month streak where we were like in Atlanta and Miami and like a third place all in the same month.
Yeah, we were running out trying to get some shit, make some shit shake, you know.
Living
what I mean?
off of oatmeal in the Marriott.
that instant oatmeal with the little coffee water.
Yeah, instant oatmeal coffee water. That's a bet.
That's a life hack.
That's a bet.
The other reason is, you know, we essentially felt at the beginning of the year, and once we really started getting into doing more events, booking more events, and doing them at a larger scale, we just felt a bit overwhelmed, overworked. We were just doing a bunch of it, and it was all for that and for the social media and to promote the events. And so, you know, the podcast is really fun, but doing these, I mean, quick digs a little bit easier, but doing these topic like heavy podcasts, we would spend hours of research, writing time, and then, you know, actually having to record the podcast, get into the studio, a time that we can both do that. Then we got to edit the whole thing, cut it, put it together. Ken does like the whole audio engineering. And so, yeah, it kind of takes a lot. So we essentially just stepped away from that, let our membership run out at House of Pod. And then we went and found ourselves some help.
We did. We hired some people, quote unquote. I mean, it's real hire, but, you know, it's like, you know, the part-time intern type gig. Everybody's getting paid, though. No unpaid labor over here.
None of that shit.
I hated that shit in college, so we both made sure that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
but we have a amazing new writer who's going to help jump in and write some of this stuff and beef up our blog, and our blog's going to help out with the podcast. So for people who don't like listening to us, they could read us. People who don't know how to read can listen to us.
What's his name?
His name's Brian.
Brian
Frederick.
Brian Frederick. And he was a ThriftCon vendor too. The Vintage Bay at the _vintage_bay. Look his stuff up. He sold in Vegas with his wife. They had a great booth. He always crushes it. And yeah, he was the managing editor at the Westward, I think, for
the Rooster. So we bought an ad in the Rooster like a local, like, you know, just classified like shitty newspaper. I mean, whatever, magazine here in Denver. We bought an ad in that magazine for an event that we were doing in Denver. He saw the ad and then decided he was going to vend, because he was the editor, so he had this yay or nay on like if that ad was going to go up or not. So he like said, "Yeah, that's a good ad," and then also I'm going to go sell
some money there. So we got Brian's on the team now. You know, he's still vending and still doing his resale thing and slanging vintage, but he is also now writing vintage. He's in the office one day a week with the squad. He's coming up with blog topics. He's getting stuff up. He's writing podcast scripts, and he might even be on the podcast as a co-host, producer, whatever.
I'd like him to be on it because he's more wise and older than both of us. He was like living in the 80s, really living in the 90s. So that's definitely a plus for us, because if you think about it, so much of this stuff that we like wasn't even alive. I personally can't even remember.
Learn about it.
I don't know if I've ever seen Michael Jordan play a basketball game.
Well, I definitely have.
That's how young I feel like I am. I saw him on the Wizards, bro. That's all I had. The only memory of Michael Jordan
I definitely
is on the Wizards.
Watched Michael Jordan play basketball. But yeah, I feel you. I was absolutely super young. I remember like Kobe a lot better.
Yeah.
Obviously grew up felt like I simultaneously grew up at the same time as LeBron did. So yeah, those are you know, much more prominent in my mind. So I feel you. Who else do we have? We got we have an intern, Hunter. That's a young kid. He is 18 years young. He's up in Boulder at school. He's doing a lot of video stuff for us, TikTok, stuff like that.
He's a 2002, 2003 baby.
That's crazy. We got
Kat. Born in the 2000s.
Kat is super dope. She is an amazing artist. She does these awesome multimedia-based paintings, collages. She's super dope. Great graphic designer as well, and so she's kind of helping us out in that department and moving us along. We got Olivia. Olivia is essentially what we need on the team. Great energy, huge ThriftCon fan. She crushes it as far as like organization and kind of like helping everyone be where they need to be when they need to be type of thing, keeping us accountable. Great person to have in that role. And then last but not least, our boy Forrest.
Forrest was brought on.
So before all this happened, before we got the intern team, we brought our boy Forrest on, who was also a ThriftCon vendor, but a friend before he was a vendor. And yeah, Ken, can you speak to what Forrest is here and what Forrest does and helps us out with?
So Forrest is here to help us manage like the events and talk to the vendors and just kind of like deal with on like a customer service side before the event, and then during the event just kind of like putting out fires, because you know we can't put on that many hats, you know, at every single moment of every single event.
And also, we're kind of assholes, and Forrest is like the nicest dude. He's
pretty nice.
He's like insanely nice, like the nicest dude in the world. And so he's a great person to have in that like customer relation role, client relation role as far as like vendors go. He's perfect for that, and so has just been crushing that right now, or the last few months. And so yeah, okay, Ken,
Yes.
talk to me.
What?
We've talked about our team now. We've talked about why we haven't done this shit. So now we have our new equipment. We have our new office and studio. What are we doing here? What are we going to do with Tea Time? What's the plan for this new season?
It's a great question, Mario Conti the third with the pepper on your neck. What? We're it's right there. Isn't that a pepper? What is that? Tooth?
Oh, this is the cornicello.
Is that a tooth or a pepper?
It's a pepper.
That's what I said.
It's a horn, actually. It's not a pepper. It's a horn.
So everyone was wrong.
Well, no. I guess like
You
it's
said
not
it's
a
a
tooth.
pepper.
Well, because you were just saying, is it a pepper or a
Hey,
tooth?
Mamma
And then I
Mia!
said
He
it's a
doesn't
pepper.
even know what it is.
It's a cornicello. It's the horn.
All
And
right.
then the hand, the mano cornuto, protect against the fucking malocchio. Go on.
Well, what we're trying to do is just do better, do cooler stuff that people actually like really want to listen to. We want to teach people more as opposed to shouting out from a mountain about stuff that we think is cool. We want to kind of take in what's cool and then teach on that subject, because people need to know more, and people deserve to know more, and people don't deserve to go out and find it on their own, because everybody got lives and we don't got lives like that, bro. We can go do that.
It's a lot easier if you can just throw this shit on and learn about it while you do your life.
Yeah, live your life, and we'll take care of what's going on in the shit that you like. So yeah, we just want to do better. This has the ability to, take in live recordings of people, whether we're like Skyping with them or doing a phone call, and it's all built in and it's not very tricky.
They could also be sitting right here. We have a couple other mics.
Yeah, they could be sitting right here. So we want to have more people engaging with us on the podcast rather than just us two guys just talking about what we're talking about.
But I know you guys have missed us.
Yeah.
I know you've missed us.
But I think that's what the people want. The people want to hear it from the mouth of the thing. So whatever the thing is, we're going to go try and find the mouth that made it. You know what I'm saying?
What that mouth do?
And then we're going to stick that mouth around you guys so you can
learn some shit.
Learn it.
Come on.
Wrap it around your head and the mouth, and then slobber knowledge on you. You feel me?
Boom, let's hit the ground running. What did we do first? Where did we start last year?
So we started last year in Atlanta, which was supposed to be Miami, but was Atlanta. And that was fucking a wild ride. Oh,
God. Dude.
So we went from...
Atlanta seems like it was like a whole other year ago.
Yeah.
I can't believe Atlanta was still this year. And people are just badgering us to come back because it does feel like it was a minute. But
it's kind of crazy. So in December of 2020, we did an event like almost like a free. It wasn't free. It was like a couple bucks to get in. But we were like so tripping about COVID, so many rules, all this shit. Like it was borderline illegal what we were doing. Not like we were endangering people, but like we really weren't supposed to be throwing events and shit. So we had like a couple hundred people show up to this thing just to say, hey, that's the end of the year. That's what we did. And then, fast forward just like 3 months after that, we threw the biggest event that we've ever thrown. Still to this day. It was over 8,000, 8,500 people.
Yeah, it was like nearing on the side of 9,000.
Which if you went to a different event, so like the Denver one this year, that was like 3,000 people because of COVID rules. What's it called?
And 3,000 spaced out shopping times too.
Houston was like 65 or 7,000 people.
We'll talk about all these. But
Atlanta
was the biggest.
It was big. It was quite large.
Crazy.
Quite large.
So yeah, we literally hopped right in, essentially, is what Ken is trying to say. We went from 2020, spaced out shows, basically not even being able to do them, into Atlanta being like, yeah, you guys should wear masks, but do whatever you want. And so
they were wild for that, just letting us do that. But it wasn't.
I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew either. They were like, because after the show, and like it always is kind of like that. So with some of these venues, some of the venues are like big beefed up convention centers and like have too much of a fucking staff. Yeah. But then some of these venues we hit are these little mom and pop things where it's like the 6 of them run this building and have been for 30 years and aren't ready for a ThriftCon type show, because like we weren't ready for Atlanta either.
Nah.
The parking lot was insane. Literally shut down. We had to turn people away from the parking lot.
We locked the doors to the parking lot.
And that was after there was an hour-long line on the highway, 30 minutes to an hour on the highway just to get on the off-ramp and turn into the parking lot. And then we had to just close that because it was getting too full. No one could get in or out. There was like a giant traffic jam. Yachty came and literally shut shit down, and his big-ass Rolls-Royce truck parked right in the front. We parked him right in the front. He got out, and people were fucking losing their shit. He pulled up. It was crazy. B.O.B. pulled up. A few rappers and people came, and then they were just also stuck in the parking lot and pissed.
Yeah,
and their managers are just calling us.
That was funny.
Yo, we're Yachty can't get out of the parking lot, and I'm like, I fucking bet.
Yeah,
dude.
Yachty,
come get a hot dog, Yachty. Yo, boat, come get some popcorn.
Does Yachty have a jetpack? Because that's the only way he's
that
getting
shit
out,
was
dude.
crazy. But he's
what are we supposed to do?
But exactly right. We had no idea it was going to be like that, so we figured it out, right? And I think it just kind of what happened in Atlanta. We're still trying to figure that out. Is Atlanta just our best market?
I don't know. I think there was a little bit of one thing was, going from 0 to 100, no events, even in Atlanta, no one had really I don't want to say the balls, or just no one really attempted that. People were still telling me I didn't know you could even do an event really, and I was we were a little bit outside of the true proper Atlanta County thing. So whatever county Atlanta really is in, we were right on the outside of that. So the rules were a little different. We didn't break any rules. We just followed the rules that we were given. But people were damn, and they didn't know that venue existed. They didn't know there was an event going on. People just kind of heard about it. I think there was a big social media effect where people started seeing images and videos of what was going on, and then just hightailed it over there.
Yeah, because it was causing a little bit of a shitstorm throughout the day.
Yeah, and on Twitter and shit, people were either loving it or hating it, and that was getting the conversation going. And I'm sure people were being weird and taking pictures of Lil Yachty and saying they were with him and all this shit. And then their friends wanted to come.
With my boy pulled up on me today.
My boy pulled up on me. So yeah, Lil Yachty came and saw it 8,000 of his best friends.
So essentially that shit was crazy. And then what happens? We have the couple days after, literally the day after, just we go viral on Twitter, or a TikTok video that our girl Emma Rogue, she's awesome. She's a ThriftCon vendor. She's a ThriftCon homie. She when she worked at Depop, we worked together, and then now she owns a store called Rogue Garms in New York. She's super dope. But so she made a video just about how much fun she had at ThriftCon Atlanta. And
everybody hated it.
And it was, literally, it actually got a lot, obviously on TikTok where she's crazy popping.
They were fucking with
it. They
it.
loved it. And it got, it went off. But then, someone screen records it, brings it over to Twitter where it's a different crowd. And, they obviously presented it to their crowd, under a different light. And it just caused this whole shitstorm. Everyone got on our case. We've talked about it. We've talked about this shit before. So we don't really need to go into, but we essentially just now refer to that as just like this like moment. It was just kind of so wild. We were just texting each other about it. Like, God, this is fucking like the shit had 15 million views on Twitter. Like it really went off.
I think it was legit trending. I don't know if it was legit trending.
No, I don't think we ever got to that.
Damn.
It would have been fun, huh?
There's some goofy shit that trends. I don't know why that didn't.
I mean, trending, I don't know. Yeah, it's good. I feel like it's not just like one, I don't know. There was a lot of people talking about it, but I feel like to be like trending on the page, like you gotta be like going off.
So we weren't there quite yet, but people had their opinions. Did they love it? Did they hate it? Are we the devil or are we cool? I don't know. Still don't know, but
lasted for a week and life moved on.
Yeah.
So if that ever happens to you, that's most likely that's what'll happen. It'll last for a week or two and life will move on. Unless you like, you know, if you're raping people or something.
Yeah, or like really argue about it. Yeah, if you're like straight up evil and you need to go to jail, but
then yeah, you know, different scenario. But for us and for most of you, if like some shit like that goes off, like just wait out the storm.
Yeah, don't say too much either. Just
because you're never gonna, you can't fight anyone in that situation. You're not gonna you're gonna fucking change anyone's mind or opinion about anything because like they don't even know what their opinion's based in.
Yeah, it's just set. It's just set before they even know who you are or whatever. So the next event after that, after the storm, was Denver.
After the shitstorm.
After the shitstorm was Denver. And that one was pretty much polar opposite to Atlanta because there was still all these rules that we had to follow. They introduced new rules. Denver was doing this color-coded scale, so like every day I would go on this website and like see if we were red or yellow. Like purple was the one purple was the one I was waiting for, and we got the purple like 2 weeks after the show, which meant that like you could basically throw whatever you wanted to throw and do whatever you wanted to do. But yeah, purple never happened. We were in like yellow or whatever.
Either yellow or orange.
It was yellow or orange. So we could only let a certain amount of people in. It added up to like 3,000, and we let like a bundle of people in every 2 hours. And it worked really well. I think all the vendors liked it. Some of the vendors are still like really like that idea of like letting some people in at different times. We've debated that as a model, but it's just like a lot less fun.
It's so much less fun, and I feel like it could potentially better and easier for the vendors to manage, which we get. But also, I think it's from a guest experience. It really is just it's not as fun. It feels a bit more like inaccessible. Like, oh shit, I'm not in the know, so now I can't attend till 3 p.m.
Yeah, you want to be in
in
the mix with all the people. Like you want to feel like you're involved, and that just never happens if you have to split it out like that. And it definitely, from the event running side, it was probably the easiest event we've ever done, other than the other one that we did pretty much the same model, and that was in 2019? 2021 is the year we're in.
2020. That was in 2020 in Denver.
No, we're talking about 2021 right now.
I know, but you said the same model was in 2020.
Yeah. It's fucking confusing though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very easy event to run. We didn't really have to do anything. We got to like shop more and hang out more, but like at the end of the day, that's not the name of the game. The name of the game is to provide an experience for other people, not to be less.
And I want that shit to be crazy, bro. I want to be flying around and running to fucking this place and this place, and they're like vendors pulling me over to their fucking booth and this booth. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to be like leisurely walking around ThriftCon. That's not the vibe we're going for. We want that shit to be a party, a madhouse. Like, yo, it kind of makes it good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, it's overwhelming. Like, there's so much to look through, or like it's hard to dig. There's all these other people. Like, fucking good, dude. Work for that shit a little bit, bro. Get out there, get in the trenches and find this shit. Like, do some work for it. Like, it's taking it like back to like what it should be. Like, you can't just like click. I have my fit now. I got the drip I want. Like, fucking work for it, dude.
Yeah. It feels more real when there's a bunch of people around.
Yeah, man, I like that shit. So yeah, Denver, it was, you know, not to say like it wasn't a fun event. It wasn't a great event. We love all our events, and that was what we had to do at that time. But can't wait to be back in Denver this next year and do it real big and proper like we've done these other cities now.
Yeah. And then, so after Denver, we had a little bit of a pretty decent gap because we still weren't in the cycle of like looking for shit, and we were trying to find a city that would work. We went down to Houston, found a spot, and chose pretty much like a real deal, like big ass venue to do Houston in, because we were like, we don't want the same thing that happened in Atlanta to happen in Houston, so we need to find the spot with the biggest parking lot, the most entry points, like the biggest foyer or whatever where people can stand. So we were just like really, really focused on like the guests pulling up and being able to like have get in
and out of the parking lot, not have to wait an hour on a highway, all that shit. So yeah, we ended up landing at the NRG Center, which is right next to, NRG Stadium and the Astrodome. So that was really cool. It's kind of just like validating when you're at these like bigger name spots, right? And we're next to the big ass football stadium and this Houston landmark. So that was really cool to just be able to say that. It's like I said, it's validating. It's a bit of a flex when we post about it. And it's super expensive and annoying to work with those people.
Yeah,
not the NRG specifically, just like the convention center type people.
That umbrella of people is like makes it a lot more expensive. So it was pretty expensive to do that show there for sure. And we were like nervous about it. I personally was, because like when we had booked the show, they were like, basically they said we could have like 1,200 people in there at a time. And like we would have just lost our shirt. Like we would have lost tens of thousands of dollars if those like things had stayed in place, and the vendors would have lost money. It just would have been a shame. But we just kind of like rolled the dice and said,
all this shit was starting to lift.
Yeah, it was all starting to lift. We're in Texas too, so some places weren't even following these rules, but this place was co-owned by the city, so they were like super duper.
And they kind of like had told us like, yo, I can pretty confidently tell you like this shit won't be like this by the time your event is rolling. We're taking it day by day, but just like the whole vibe when we had visited in Houston and talking to the people that we knew, our vendors and people we knew that were boots on ground down there, it was like, this is going to get, these regulations are going to get dropped by your date. But it was still, still a bit stressful in us jumping out on
it was a gamble. And then I remember they didn't even email me that like the restrictions had changed and you could just have a real event. Like I had to ask them. I was like, did anything change? And they were like, oh yeah, it's totally all good. Like that happened like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, what the fuck, guys? Like, come on, like tell me this shit, please.
Yeah. So, but good news, it changed and the event popped off.
The event popped off.
It was pretty much the second largest event to Atlanta. Yeah. And then this was kind of the first time that we had, we stepped up our build out a little bit.
Yeah, we bought installations for our entryway, and we bought an installation for our like merchandise or like little mini ThriftCon store that we pop up at our events, because those used to just be like a folding table and like some homies sitting there, and it was like really ugly and it just looked like we weren't really doing it. So we invested in that, and I think it looks great. It continues to look great. But one crazy thing about buying that stuff is it just adds a whole nother layer of like complications as far as
Houston was such
hosting
a learning
the
curve.
Event goes, because we got it made and designed and built in LA. It got shipped to Houston. Once it was there, we didn't have a forklift. I was like, oh shit, I need a forklift to get this off the truck. So we had to like get a forklift like immediately to even get it off the truck. Got the forklift. Then I was like, well, do we want to forklift this shit home? Like, how do we get this shit home? We don't have a truck. We don't have any of this set up. We didn't really know how big it was going to be because it was such a quick turnaround. So we basically got all this stuff and then spent like an hour and a half or 2 hours trying to figure out how to pile it into a 26-foot U-Haul, which is like super,
a nightmare.
Super not the way to do it.
At the end of the day, after a 14-hour day, waking up at 3 a.m., and then all the boys are just like taking these fucking dumbass Oritos stands apart and like trying to fit them in this. That was a nightmare.
Yeah, so we also had Jaritos was sponsoring, like giving out sodas and stuff. So we made them a little booth, and the booths that we made didn't fit in the U-Haul at all. Like they were 8 by 8, and the U-Haul door was like 7'9" by 7'10".
Oh,
It sucked so much. We were like so close, but it wasn't there. We had to like take it apart and just lop it in there.
And they had like shut the AC off. It was hot in there. I was like back up in like the U-Haul, and like I haven't sweat that hard. That was the most I sweat the whole year. Maybe not even as like when we went to that spot.
We did an event in Houston in July. So loading the vendors in 5 a.m. It's like 90 degrees already and humid, and like people were like dripping sweat at actual 5 a.m. Like the sun wasn't even up, and it was unbearably hot. So it was unbearably hot pretty much the whole day. When unless once they closed the doors, it got nice in there.
Yeah.
And they turned the AC on, but as soon as at 5 o'clock, they opened up the doors and turned off the AC, and it was like back to the shit.
We had like no water.
Yeah,
everyone's just sweating. It was so fucking funny.
It was gnarly. But so we packed that big ass U-Haul up with everything packed really poorly, and drove that shit all the way home.
Just drove it
home. Mars and I just like eating beef jerky and bubble gum and shit. And
the worst drive too, like through like Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was really
Kansas
ugly and sad and hot.
Man.
We ate like Texas Roadhouse for dinner, and it was just like it was a real like USA
nice American trip.
Yeah, nice trip through America.
American road trip.
But we got that shit home, and the Jarritos booths were like, one of them was like completely destroyed, and that was a real buzzkill because they cost a lot to make. And we were like, it's our responsibility. We should have figured out how to not break that, but we broke one, and that kind of sucked. And then we had to figure out, now we have all this stuff. Where do we store it? Our storage was like a 10 by 10 storage. And it was just so many things that we had to like store stuff in a U-Haul for a while till we got a new storage, and we had to figure out all this other shit. Like, how do we get this on a pallet? How do we move it wherever else we want? So that all that installation stuff just added a whole new layer. But it like every other real event, convention, show in the world is doing this constantly. And we had never really done that. We were shipping a box places, and that's all we were doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's something that would have had to have been dealt with and learned at some point, right?
Yeah.
So it was, matter of when, not if.
We learned, though. We learned.
Yeah, and it's rolling a little bit better now.
ThriftCon Philly comes along Labor Day, right? Is that the one? Or is it Labor Day? Yeah, so Labor Day is TC Philly. And that was the first.
Labor Day or Memorial
Memorial's
Day?
the beginning. Labor Day's the end, I think.
Yep.
I always get those mixed up. Yep. But so that was the first event that we actually had to ship the stuff out from Denver to another city. And, the supply chain's like really fucked up right now. So like that cost $1 bazillion to get
drive
it out there.
though. Worth every penny. Not driving a U-Haul with all this shit ever again. Worth every penny.
Put it in a real semi. We figured it all out. But we also introduced like a decorator into the equation of like when we're setting up. So like up until this year on Labor Day, we had been marking every single booth ourselves and like not being very, we're not professionals at this shit. But come to find out, there's companies that specialize in this craft, and they will do that shit for you. So
no one teaches you this stuff. There's no throw a convention school.
Yeah, no, there is not.
Yeah, it's weird, dude. You just you just assume all right, I guess I'll just do all this shit myself.
But we hired a really nice decorator. She was a sweetheart. Her name was Patty, and she had a great team, and they fucking. They did the booths, and we didn't have to do that. That was sick. So then all of a sudden our load-in turned, our Saturday load-in turned from, like a 9-hour day into like a 2-hour day.
Yeah,
and
it's
awesome.
Sick.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
And for Philly, Whatnot came on board. Shout out to Whatnot. Yeah, no, shout out to Whatnot, honestly. Super stoked to have them on board. Whatnot is a live shopping platform, live stream shopping platform based in LA. They crush it. It's essentially like shopping on Instagram Live, but it's an app that's built for that shit, right? Like, buying things on there is way easier. You buy it right in app. It gets shipped to you. The tracking's all right there.
It's secure. You really can't get fucked over by some dumbass on Instagram Live just stealing your money or something.
It's the way to go. They are killing it in all these other categories too. It's not just vintage. There's sneakers. There's Pokemon cards. There's resale shit. Supreme and all that. There is a ton of stuff on there. It's a great app. And so they came on board to be a sponsor for the actual events, like a partner with us for the events, and we're doing, these virtual ThriftCons with them as well, live on their app. And so that was sick. That was great. Like we're finally, we've been working so hard to kind of just get the ear and the eyes of one of these larger brands and get them to understand like, we have something huge here and this is building and that we want to grow with you guys and whatnot, stepped up to the plate in a big way.
Yeah.
And it's been great.
They're at the perfect point in their story as well, because they're not a household name yet, but they have everything set. They're kind of, with the exception of how much funding they have, like they're kind of at the same point as us, like growing something, but not, a household name yet. So we don't have to if it was like a partnership with like an eBay or something, you got to go through like all these hoops and they're owned by someone and there's, executives and all this shit. But like Whatnot is like a small company.
It's like a startup married to a startup.
Yeah. There's a couple, like under 100 people who work there. And we just feel like we're kind of on the same page, even though we only have 7 people. But as far as an ideal path that could merge, it was a great path.
It's amazing. So they came in and they are doing live auctions at the show. They have a whole area. They're giving away totes. They're talking to people about the app. We're going to do some even cooler stuff with them in LA. Essentially they just came in and crushed it sponsor side of things for the first time for us. Like we said, we had Jarritos. We definitely did Depop before, but we didn't have someone that had their own real space and owned space like that.
Yeah.
And really kind of like, felt like a partner instead of just, hey, yeah, let's do this. Put our logo on the flyer, talk to you in a month. Like we'll be there. Yeah. It's like we're working with them to build this stuff and to make the event cooler and to make these virtual ThriftCons cooler and really kind of, pull some people over to their app because we believe in it too. And it's a sweet thing. Like we don't work with anybody that we don't fuck with, things that we don't think make sense for the ThriftCon customer, vendor, whatever. So yeah, if we're putting our stamp of approval on it, we mean that.
There were some woes, I feel like, for Philly, though. It was kind of like we're on a high, a big time high. And there was Philly wasn't the biggest event we've ever done by any means. It was just kind of like a little bit of like reckoning with reality that we can't just do whatever the fuck we want. There was a hurricane.
There was a hurricane
on the Wednesday before, so we landed on like Thursday, and like the whole like world was flooded. Like people's whole entire houses were underwater.
Some people didn't even think ThriftCon was happening.
Yeah, they were
like,
worried
is the event
about
still
that.
happening? And we're like, no, it's good.
The building next door flooded. The one literally next to our venue flooded. There was Made in America happening in downtown Philadelphia. So that fucked up traffic. What originally, when we looked at the venue, what was a 25, 35-minute drive instantly changed to like an hour and 20-minute drive, hour and 30-minute drive. So
that shit was crazy. And Made in America is cool, but man, does it fuck that city up.
Fucks that city up, man. It's crazy.
Crazy. It really shuts it down because it's right in the middle, which is tight. There's not a lot of festivals like that. It's right in the middle, though.
It's dead in the center of downtown Philadelphia, like right in the cool part, like where, where tourists want to go and stuff.
Yeah.
And then on top of all that, it was like actually Labor Day. Like it was Labor Day Sunday. Labor Day was the next day. So people were like probably out at the beach with their parents or like, doing Labor Day shit. Like
just traveling. It's like the last weekend of summer sometimes for people. So a lot of people just get out of town too. Yeah, I don't know. And, like you said, can't just pull up everywhere and sell 10,000 tickets. You know what I mean?
Can't do it.
So,
try as you
will
might.
we be back to Philly? Maybe not. We don't know.
It's a big maybe.
It's a big maybe. We'll be back to the East Coast, like for sure. But Philly might be a minute. Sorry, guys.
I didn't fuck with the little buttons. And then after that, after Philly, we went to Vegas, and it was a super quick.
Recent.
That was a quick turnaround too, from like, honestly, just like with the shipping and the traveling and all that shit, it literally felt like, I don't know, 3 weeks basically.
It's kind of tight though, I like that. It sucks, but also it's like, just like a nice fucking, I don't know. You don't get to think about it too much. It's definitely like stressful, but at the same time, it's just like you can kind of just get in the mix a little bit, right? Like it really was like, you know, it was so fast that all of a sudden it was like, damn, we leave for Vegas in like 2 days. Like ThriftCon Vegas is this weekend. Like that's fucking wild.
Yeah, it was wild, honestly. And I mean, there was some stuff that I feel like I could have done better. We almost.
That being said, like, yeah, I am happy to have like a bit of a run up.
Yeah, the run up's better. I feel like it just centers us a little bit more, but that's okay. I mean, we didn't fuck up anything major. The supply chain almost fucked us up. Like we shipped out our entire show, including the installations, like a full semi truck worth of stuff. And it got picked up in Denver on Monday, and it was supposed to be in Vegas on Thursday. And it got picked up in Denver, and it just stayed in Denver until Thursday. Like, literally just never left. And then I had to call them up, arrange this whole thing to get a dedicated trailer, one truck, to go from Denver to Vegas overnight. And then they, they changed the tracking number and didn't tell me, so I was giving them a tracking number that wasn't the stuff, and it was like really, really fucked up. I was tripping. Like, I was like, how do we even do this event without like literally all of our supplies? We have the vendors, they're gonna bring their stuff, but like, and we had the vendor packets. Yeah. That's all we had.
Ticketing, all of that shit. It would have been such a nightmare. Everything was in there.
No merch. Everybody who ordered a tote would have just not gotten it. Like, sorry, my bad. Supply chain issues. So that was almost a mess. But then it just like showed up on Friday afternoon, and I was like, "Oh God!" He's like, "No, we just got it." And I was like, "What the fuck?"
It happened. It arrived, and then the show really popped off.
Yeah,
and it's so much easier to talk about Vegas, right? Because like it was a couple weeks ago. I feel like all these other ones we're talking about, so long ago. But yeah, like Vegas was crazy. It feels like the biggest line we've had. I don't know why. It feels like everybody showed up all at once.
Yeah, I think everybody showed up at one time.
It was kind of like it wasn't the biggest show, right? So like even I think Houston was a little bit bigger than
just
Vegas.
Like slightly. Like a couple hundred.
And then
people.
Atlanta was like still the biggest. But as far as like the line, and it might have just been like the way it had to flow, whatever. Shaped. I don't know. It was just, it was so nuts. This line, it was crazy. And thank you to anybody who waited in it. I feel like we ended up figuring it out, and we got that first wave in as quick as possible. I think 15 to 20, 25 minutes was maybe the longest people waited in it. So that's not too terrible.
Nah.
But yeah, it was cool to see. Always loved seeing that shit. And everyone got in and was pumped. And then the vendors just got smacked.
Bro, it was so hectic in there for a minute. Like, I guess I never walked around in Vegas, in Atlanta, because I never left the front door because the front door never stopped. But when I got, we hired some people to help us out, so we don't have to just stand at the front door regardless of how many people show up. But man, like in the back section, we had these big ass aisles in the front, but then in the back section they were like 5-10 feet less wide. In that back section, the 10 by 10s, holy fuck, dude. Like, that was crazy. We have vendors like on chairs, like 6 feet out of their booth, just like watching shit, like trying to like manage it, I guess, whatever they were doing. It was crazy. They looked like auctioneers, like standing on a thing, and they were just like 50, 20, 30. And then like just like had this like pouch of money, and like people would come up to him. It was crazy, but it had a vibe. I was like, wow, like it felt, and we took up a smaller footprint than Houston. We had less vendors and like the same amount of people. So I would imagine that the vendor sales went a little bit better.
And I know it was
just
harder,
a little bit more.
Yeah. So like I know it was like that's difficult, and there's a lot of vendors. Like there's some vendors day of coming up to us like, "Fuck, bro, I'm getting hammered. Like this shit's crazy." And it's like, it's not like they're upset. It's like two sides of the coin, right? It's this shit's crazy. Like fuck yeah. Like I got a whole bunch of people in my booth, but it's also like this shit's crazy, bro. I got a whole bunch of people in my booth. Yeah. I don't know if I can manage all of them. Yeah. It's kind of like they're like hitting me with like both emotions at the same time. And we 100% get it. We're trying to, we hear that, we feel it, obviously it's a bit of a catch-22. Like you don't want less people at the event. We don't want less people at the event. Vendors don't want less people at the event. You know, we're all trying to make money off of it. We're all trying to get people there, get people together. But at the same time, like, we're going to do what we can moving forward for these next events this next year to equip vendors a little bit better, whether that's with knowledge. And we've said this before, but really it just keeps getting better and better. We keep trying to double down on this, give the vendors more resources. We're upping the passes. So now we're including assistant passes moving forward now. So that's essentially like, here's your vendor passes. You still get the same amount of vendor passes, but now you get assistant passes, people who are there specifically to help you at your booth, help with setup, it's like another set of eyes, really. Like, they're not security, but they are essentially kind of like loss prevention if you so choose to put them in that role, which you should, because that's why we're giving them to you. And so really, we're not dumb. We're not just giving them to you like, oh, here's a freebie, dog. Here's another pass. Like, it's for a reason. So like, it would be wise to use it. And we're going to give you all these other resources leading up to as well. But just a couple easy tips. Booth design. You don't have to let all these people in your booths. Like, keep a line, bro. If you got a pop-in booth and there's 15 people in the booth, be like, start holding people off and keep, a nice little line wrapping around your booth. And then it's easier for people to shop. They're going to appreciate that. And also, it just like looks like if you're walking through ThriftCon and you see this one booth has like a line of like 6 people to get in it, you're going to be like, oh shit, what do they got? They must have some heat. Like,
they must be doing something. Yeah.
People will get out quick. Like, it's not like people aren't going to spend an hour in your booth. Like like, if you really have some bangers, maybe, but at the most, like, people are in your booth for 5 to 10, 15 minutes because they know there's so much other shit there they got to see, right? So keep a line. It's going to be fine, right? People will get through it. Okay, so sorry, I just wanted to get that off because I know Vegas was a bit overwhelming, you know what I mean, for some people, but it's not going to get, just disclaimer, the events aren't going to get smaller.
Yeah.
We're going to fucking keep growing this bitch, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's, it's not your average flea market where you're sitting there drinking some brews, talking to a couple people every once in a while, throwing some prices out. Like, this shit is a real life, like, it's a convention and we get like numbers.
Mo is one of our like really good friends in Denver. He had a hell of a night in Vegas. I thought that would be funny to mention without throwing him under the bus. But we don't do anything crazy. We're not like party guys. We drink casually. We do drink, but we don't blackout drink or like we didn't go to Hakkasan or like some shit like that.
No, we went to Taco Bell Cantina after the show.
And we don't gamble like, we maybe gamble $100. We don't gamble $1,000. We don't gamble $10,000. Some crazy shit like that. But we did have a good time on Sunday night, and our buddy Mo basically had it set in his mind that he was going to stay out all night, and he did
without
that.
telling us either. He like had this personal, like, oh man, I'm gonna have this Vegas night, and like he like had it in his mind before coming, and just essentially
he knew what he wanted
to do.
He did what his brain told him he wanted to do.
Oh, he went out. So yeah, this man, oh my God, he's basically like, we all leave around, I mean, Mita and I left around 1 or 2, like everyone kind of like seems to have made their way home around like 3 or so. And Mo, we were on the Strip, and Mo, he's like, basically made his way back to Fremont in search of a cheaper blackjack table.
Yep. That's what he did.
That was the first move, and we were like, that's a good move. That's a good move. Fremont is where you're going to find the cheaper tables. And he just wanted to kind of, he hadn't gotten that itch out yet. You know what I mean? It was the last night he needed to, he still wanted some time on the tables. And we were all done.
But there's not much more to the story other than he literally just like bopped around until 9 a.m.
Yeah, so essentially like around like 7 a.m. because, we have to check out of the Airbnb at 11.
Yeah.
And we have a group chat every single time we do this staff. So then, we kind of all start checking in like in the morning, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. People are kind of texting each other in the group chat like, who's up, like what time, I think I texted we got to be out by 11 essentially. Is like that's maybe how it started, like check out for the B&Bs at 11, trying to kind of let everybody know when they got to get going.
Get people moving.
And Mo essentially hits us back like, hasn't went to sleep, still at the table. He's like, I'm still at the tables. Somebody pack my shit. Y'all are going to have to maybe pick me up on the way to the airport.
grab my iPad. Make sure you can just, I don't not worry about my clothes. Just somebody grab my iPad.
Grab my iPad. When I basically is just bobbly as fuck. Like, I'm still out here. Like, get some shit. So we pack his shit and we're like, hey, we're coming to get you. Where are you at? Just text us like a street corner outside of one of these hotels in Fremont. And we pull up and the whole ride there, we're like, so many questions. Like, is he going to be up? Is he down? Like, he's been out for literally like, he's been up for over 20, almost like 36 hours. This man has been awake and active too, like active as fuck, like a long day. And we're like, okay, how is he not sleeping? How is he not falling asleep at these tables? Is he up? Is he up big? Is he down big? What's it going to be? And so, yeah, it was just like so much anticipation. We pick him up and he's just pumped, actually. Like, I was like expecting, he still had all the adrenaline running and shit. So like, he's like not tired. He gets into the car like all excited and essentially is just like, I had the perfect Vegas night, exactly what I wanted to do. He like, oh man, this fucking guy, he spent time on tables with these Hawaiian people, older Hawaiian people started calling him auntie and uncle, essentially like, but literally like they taught him how to gamble too. Like, these were his people for hours. These were his people, like hugging him when he left and shit. And then ends up not going home from there, goes to a different hotel, different casino, gets on a table with this pro poker player that Mo is like, I guess has watched some pro poker. So this guy's telling him stories about these dudes that Mo knows, all this shit. And so, yeah, he just through the sunrise plays blackjack with this random pro poker player and just has like 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. convos with this dude, I guess. So weird, but just loved it.
He was the thing was he was like on this adrenaline rush when he got in the car. And everything was amazing and beautiful, but we still had like hours left.
It wasn't airport time yet.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna like sit at a pool and like drink some mojitos or some shit like that, or I don't know, whatever people do. And that's not what we were able to do. It was like cloudy out. It was like 65 degrees, gray skies. So we all just kind of like walked,
wander,
zombie wander through like shops and places and like, trying not to like, lose more money or anything. Cause we, what's done is done. But he didn't really hold himself together that well. He just kept falling asleep.
Just everywhere we went, he would just like sit down and just
if there was like a 3-minute break, he was asleep and then he got awoken.
Oh shit. Yeah. But legendary night though.
Legendary,
good
for sure.
For him.
And it wasn't gross. It wasn't messy. So that's great.
He didn't, to answer the question from earlier, didn't lose a bunch of money, didn't win a bunch of money.
Didn't like, go to one of them strip clubs and, spend like $3,000 or whatever.
Move. That's a dumb move.
Yeah, that's dumb. But anyway.
So Vegas went off without a hitch.
We came back and we already knew that LA was set. And today, as we're recording it, is when we announced LA.
So you should know really well. That we're not dropping any secrets. You should know by now that LA is happening.
You would definitely know.
If you don't, and you're listening to this, I really don't know.
I don't know how you found this podcast without knowing that LA is happening.
Honestly,
I'd be like, there's no way to do that.
I don't think so. Unless you followed the podcast on Spotify and you don't follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, that'd be weird. That would be weird.
It's possible.
LA is going to be cool. It'll be like a, buy stuff for Christmas type of vibe, which is what we hit in 2019. And that's kind of what we want to continue doing, is doing LA at the end of the year, cap the year off in like, the city in the country with the exception of, New York. LA is the place to be, and it's really nice and warm still. Maybe not, it's not hot out, but it's not 3-4 feet of snow like it could be in New York if we try to do it in Christmas. So it'll be nice out. The venue's really unique, like super, super unique. We've never dealt with a place like this before. It's not a convention center.
It's going to be different.
It's got 2 floors. It's got all these like nooks and crannies to go like exploring in.
There will be multiple rooms. There will be multiple experiences. There's going to be we talked about Houston being one this year that we kind of elevated a little bit and took a step forward, right? I think LA very much along the same things, you know.
Yeah, we're
gonna learn some things. Some things might get fucked up or get a little wonky for us and for you.
Mars and I will yell at each other.
We're gonna learn some things, I think, you know, because like again, we're elevating the experience. We're taking some steps that we haven't taken before, and take a couple chances.
Yeah, it won't be what you're used to, and it might not be perfect, but it definitely will be sick.
And I think it will be better.
Yeah, I think so too. It's more interesting. Definitely more interesting. It's a way more interesting venue. There's just a lot more going on.
So listen, like it's gonna be all the same things that you love about ThriftCon, right? The things that you come to ThriftCon for, aka a shit ton of vendors and all the dope Instagram vintage heads and just like a crazy, like insane, like just an insane amount of stuff, like more stuff than you could ever look through. That's all going to be there.
Do you know what people go to ThriftCon for? God, he's almost, he got it.
But so that's essentially like, you know, all of the clothing, all of the vendors, like they will all still be there. So, you know, it's like, I don't want to scare people because it's like not going to be all in the same room, right? Everything you come there for is still going to be there.
Is there.
We're just adding some shit, right? We're adding some shit and it's going to look a little bit different. That's all it is.
And like like I said, we're dealing with one of the bigger cities in the country, like a real, like, you know, stuff that happens there kind of moves the meter on like the way people do stuff and like the way stuff is done. So we don't want to just pop up and do the exact same thing in a city like that, because it feels like, you know, we shouldn't, and we don't want to do that. We want to do something special for the cities that are like, you know, we know we have an audience. We know that it's going to go well. We need to elevate it. And I couldn't name a better city other than New York to like test some shit, but also like push the envelope a little bit.
And it's probably going to be along the, like how LA looks is how next year is going to look for the most part. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to take steps back once we take steps forward. It might not be 2-story venues every time or whatever. Like the venues aren't going to always look exactly the same, but the experience will look generally the same.
Yeah. What else? So it's on a Saturday. That's kind of interesting because, you know, obviously these venues, they're not just waiting for ThriftCon to come. They're not just like, you know, you can have any day. They got shit going on. So we were, you know, really trying to figure out, okay, we don't want to get crushed after Vegas, just trying to find the right day. And boom, it just happened to be on this particular weekend. But the Sunday of this particular weekend is a Rose Bowl Sunday. And like, we have no intentions of stepping on the toes of like an institution like that. It's not smart for us to do that as far as eyeballs and impressions and footsteps. And it also gives people like the diehards an opportunity to hit both.
I mean, how
which
wild
is an
is that
opportunity that you would never had before. Vendors could attempt to vend it both if they have the gusto.
Oh my God. That would be a lot. That's like 2 days, no sleep.
2 days, no sleep. But like, you know, we definitely just didn't want to step on the Rose Bowl or like try and compete with them, because that's not in our best interest. And we wanted to improve the experience of Rose Bowl with us being there, not take away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just an incentive for LA people to you know, LA vendors, like you said, to be able to do both potentially, but also people not based in LA. Like like if you're into vintage, what better weekend to go to a different city, to go to a cool city with some good food, fucking bunch of shit to do, and then now, boom, it's two of the biggest like vintage collectible events in America, really.
Yeah. The Saturday thing is also cool because that gives you an opportunity to have a night out if you're that type of guy or gal, if you like to party. And we kind of do. We're not too crazy, but we're going to shoot and do an after party. We don't have anything booked. We don't have anything planned, but that's how we live our life. So we're going to throw an after party.
It's going to be fucking tight.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it like little, or we're not going to do that shit small. We're not going to do it wrong. Like if we do something and we do a thing like an after party, it's going to be fucking tight.
Mars and I came from like concert promotions and stuff like that. Like we were throwing concerts and parties like for 5 years before ThriftCon even started. I would wager to say that we know how to throw a party. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and throw one of those for old time's sake.
It's gonna be. I honestly can't wait. The after party is gonna go dumb. I mean, that is just gonna. I'm tired thinking about that whole day already. Just doing ThriftCon and then having to pull up to a fucking after party with all these people.
We did that in Vegas. We had our own little after party. It wasn't that hard.
Yeah,
Get yourself wet. You know, throw some water on your face and get it moving.
You're right. It's going to be fun. Once I'm in the mix, it'll be good. But I just know there's going to be this point. I'm going to hit that wall.
That's going to be a good sleep on Saturday night.
Dude.
A good sleep.
But so, yeah, the after party, Whatnot's in on that. We have a couple other sponsors that I don't really want to throw them out yet because nothing's confirmed. But people on the line.
That's against the rules of business.
It is. It's not. I don't give a shit.
Because we're real good at business.
Okay, so that was it. That was what we did this year. That's kind of the recap. You guys are caught up. We'll probably edit some of that out, whatever. We talked for a minute, but we had to get a lot off. Like I said, it's been 10 months.
Been a while. And we have big plans for this season. We don't just want to talk about ourselves. Like we said, we have Brian writing stuff. We're going to write stuff. We're going to try and get some cool stories going, stuff that, is something that you want to listen to. And then we're going to like try our best to really focus on like getting the word from the people who are there. Like whatever we're talking about, we're going to try and do it like a real podcast and have people talk about it with us and not just do research on Google and like spit it back at you. We want to have someone who like, was there and knew what was going on, give you the down low on what was happening. So that's probably like the best way to whittle down the focus of this next season is to
consider this right here, this first episode 0. Consider this our pledge for season 2 to not only get back at it and get back on the horse as far as consistency goes with the podcast, but also for us to just really take that next step. We'll have really, solid topics, better output, better guests for the first time ever, interviews and guests.
Yeah.
We'll really, this will be a real kind of seasoned season 2, if you will.
We're very excited. Applause.
Hey! I can't fucking wait.
I think I don't have anything else to say.
No, I'm really excited. I'll drop. The first topic that we're going to be covering for season 2, episode 1 is going to be. I wish we had a drum roll. Nike SBs.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover the history of the Nike SB. Kind of that whole line, the SB itself, the shoe is really going to be the focus, but the
it's
whole
not
line
just the
and
dunk
the creator,
too,
right?
Everybody here, there's a lot of SBs.
Ton of them. They're still creating SB lines.
Yay.
I don't know if that's true. I think it is, though.
I don't know. I just wanted to tell people because, it's like, it's not an SB dunk podcast. It's an Nike SB podcast.
Yes. So we'll
just clarify that. Like,
I'm sure the majority of it will be the dunk because that's like, we'll talk a lot about the dunk, but it will be
what about
talking
them
about
Janowski joints. I was rocking those back in the day.
Bro, we did rock Janowski's heavy.
Yeah.
What was his name? The creator of Nike SB? Fuck.
That we
I know. Well, then I was gonna say something I just can't freaking remember. It's his because that's what it's. Sandy Bodecker.
He passed away.
Yeah, Sandy Bodecker. He did pass away a few years ago. That was like something that was felt in the sneaker community.
His name is SB.
That is they've said that it's actually stands. The line stands for Sandy Bodecker and not for Nike skateboarding. But that's to be debated.
Yeah, that is super debatable.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, I mean, I guess
but
it works.
His name is SB. Isn't that crazy?
My initials are GETMONEY. You feel me, boy?
But so yes, we will have a full-on podcast paying tribute to Sandy Bodecker and the history of the Nike SB. And hopefully, we have got some cool plans for that. That will officially launch season 2 here. This is kind of just to get our feet wet, but that will be the launch of season 2. We got some cool plans, and we'll hopefully have some guests for that one.
I want to put an outro sound on this, but I think we didn't press this one yet.
We didn't press this one either. See you guys.
Peace.